Hello there. Good morning. It's the 18th of July 2021 and it's now 9 o'clock in the morning. I actually woke fairly early and managed to get back to sleep for a while. So I've nearly finished my first mug of tea. I will definitely need several more today because it's forecast to be really warm again. At the moment, it's 23 degrees Celsius outside, which doesn't bode well for the rest of the day. So I'm taking the opportunity to spend some time with some of the Ecoline brush pen inks to add some colour to some artwork. And then I'm going to retire downstairs for as much of the day as I can, apart from a couple of Zoom meetings through the day and evening. So yeah, I don't do well in the heat. Having said that, I did spend a fair amount of time yesterday afternoon, evening, drawing in my sketchbook birds and fish, sort of cute and whimsical birds and fish, because I could, and because they're now references for future work, which you'll see. This one you saw yesterday, I haven't done much work to it because it really did get insufferably hot, and at the moment I've turned my fan off so that I'm recording here. In the UK, private homes generally don't have air conditioning, so they can get very warm, especially old houses like mine. They take a while to heat up, but when they heat up, boy, do they hold the heat. Stone built. The walls in my house are about 2 foot thick, for goodness sakes. So, and just a little thing, my studio space is upstairs in a room that is south facing, which is lovely in the winter because I get warmth up here when the sun's out, and it's lovely all year because I get a view out the window, so I can see hills and greenery, whereas downstairs I can't. All I can see is the garages and the roofs of the houses, the street below, and a wall. So it's nice. So upstairs, heat rises, it gets hot up here, sunshine up here, yeah, again. So I tend to find somewhere else to go and work, which is my front room downstairs, which although is south facing, it doesn't get as hot because the heat it gets rises. So anyway, I witter on about science, physics and heats and so on. I haven't done much to the mushrooms. I did add centres to the yellow ones. I've put some light colour here for these in those white spaces I left. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do, whether I'm going to make them look like holes or whether I'll find a way to lighten them up and make them look like bright spots. And I started adding colour to these mushrooms, and I wasn't too keen on what I did because I did this late last night when it had cooled down up here enough to do a bit more. By cool down enough, it was about 10 o'clock, 10:30, and it was still too warm, really, but the fan helped. So I did that, but what I've spent a bit of time doing this morning is drawing some cute and whimsical fish. Now there are gaps on here, and I am going to go back to draw some more fish, but I want to get some colour on first. The mushrooms are on the Moulin de Roy watercolour paper, but here I've got a piece of Imagine, the Canson Imagine mixed media paper, because I'm curious to see how these will work on that. If they don't work well, nothing's lost really. It's just, you know, it will it's just a piece of paper and a little bit of ink. So I've got the palette, same palette here. I know what colours are which, so I can add colours as I need to, if I need to. And I'm going to have to add some dark. This yellow, this deep yellow, is one of the colours that I seem to use an awful lot of. There are other yellows in the set, but they don't seem to. Yeah, I do want that because I'm using that for my hand. So because I drew these in pencil rather than in pen, because I'm not so familiar with drawing fish without guidelines, as I am things like mushrooms and so on. But it may be that I can actually erase much of the pencil. I should have done that actually to begin with, because the pencil I used has got it's a B-grade lead in it, and that means it's softer than an ordinary pencil. I'm not sure if it's 2B, I think it is just B. Can't remember now, because it's got a little twisty top on it where I can adjust what the to let me know what lead, what hardness the lead of the pencil is. It's odd, isn't it, we use the word lead for the inside of pencils, and it actually goes back, believe it or not, to Roman times, where they didn't have graphite pencils, they didn't have paper, particularly. I know the ancient Egyptians had papyrus and ink and so on, so perhaps they had access to that. I'm not too good on that. But the most common way for Romans to make notes was to use a stick of lead to write on a slate or something like that. And so that's where the word lead comes from. And when pencils came in, it was just carried on using. I know. Must probably not explain that very well, but you know, I'm sure you get the meaning full well. In fact, it's quite interesting how much the Romans gave us in terms of technology. They might have been invading creatures in Britain. The Roman Empire took over a large swathe of Britain from the late, about, was it 68 AD, something like that? They first invaded and, you know, got a foothold here until the 4th century, so late 300s AD. But with them, they brought things like central heating, plumbing, baths, brick-built houses, and different ways of working metals, pottery, really good pottery. Well, I think they had wheels. They might have brought the potter's wheel with them as well. So we certainly brought a lot of good stuff with them, as well as the other stuff like slavery and what have you. Although, you know, I'm not quite sure how much of that was going on before Roman times, because I'm not that. I like prehistory, and prehistory in the UK is before the Romans invaded, because there was no written history then. The Romans brought writing and with them as well, and being able to record the written word in books and things. So perhaps they did have paper and pencils. I don't know. I'm talking here and I'm thinking I really need to do some research now. So there was no written history as such. It was all oral history passed down from person to person. So they brought that with them as well. So prehistory is before histories were written. That doesn't mean we don't know much about that era, because the people who lived there left lots of things for us to find archaeologically in terms of pottery and metalwork and stone tools and traces of houses and big monuments like henges and barrows and long barrows and Silbury Hill, which is quite a remarkable place, built by humans. And it's a big conical shaped hill in Wiltshire. You can't actually walk up it because it's now a protected area. It suffers from erosion and so on. But you know, it was built, it's there. We know how old it is. I'm not sure if some excavations, I'm sure excavations were done a long time ago and evidence was found for its age, possibly. Again, I'm a bit murky on the details because it's been a long time since I read about it. So we can, you know, we know things like this. We've got an inkling about what people made, how they dealt with their dead. In some instances, the kinds of houses that they lived in, and you know, the beautiful metalwork that they made in jewellery and so on. So some beautiful hoards found in Wales of gold, you know, Celtic jewellery, absolutely stunning stuff. But their beliefs and their histories and why they built these things and why there are some barrows for a few people and the rest of the population, we don't know what happened to them particularly. We've got theories and evidence that suggests things, but it's fascinating. It's a mystery. And I do enjoy a good mystery, it does have to be said. So, yeah. Just some, it's one of those things. And as I'm talking about it, I'm thinking, this is something I need to start reading about again. And I know I've got loads of books in my collection that I haven't read for a long time, or I haven't read because I'm one of these people. I buy a book and I think, oh, that'd be great to read. And I think, bring it home, put it in the pile of the many others still to read. And I end up with a big collection of books that I haven't read yet, or I've only just dipped into for references or information as required, which is fine by me. When I was in university, textbooks we had to buy, I used them for reference on things I had to look up at, but there's no way I was going to sit there and read them like a bloody novel. Because they're not exactly the most exciting reads in the world. And if I'm going to read for fun, generally, at that time anyway, it used to be science fiction or fantasy that would grab my attention. And I would enjoy that greatly. So there we go. Actually, this paper's working quite nicely with these inks and pigments. The way that it dries quite quickly actually suits them, which is a nice thing to know, as far as I'm concerned anyway. It's a bit more of this pink. I can tell it's early in the morning and I haven't worked my muscles very much yet, my arty muscles, because the brush just doesn't want to go where I want it to go at the moment. It'll be fine though. We can get that to work, I'm sure. A little bit of overspill there, but again, it is what it is, and I shall work with it. In fact, I may need to just add a little bit more colour here because looking a little bit on the patchy side. So the problem with these I've found is that I can't overwork them. I can't. I have to go, right, that's it, that'll do, that's good enough, let's move on with that. I really need to move my mug because I keep trying to dip my brush in what remains of my ink. My tea. I've got tea in my mug. I'm working with inks. As I said, these are absolutely lovely. They really are. Very much so. I'm having issues with the order of the second set because I keep checking to see when it's going to be delivered, and it was supposed to be today. Then by accident I changed it to Monday, so they changed it to Amazon to today. Then when I check it, it's gone to Saturday, next Sunday, a month away. So I keep changing it back to, I can't get a delivery for today, it seems, on the app or on the computer, the website or anything. So I keep changing it back to tomorrow. So I don't know whether it's the different, I have to change it in all of the version, all the Amazon apps I've got on all of my devices. No idea. But it is vexing me to say quite a fair amount, I'm afraid to say. And I don't like that very much. But we'll see. They'll arrive when they'll arrive, because I'm quite eager to get the other sets of colours. And yes, I know you can mix colours, but I've got to know the theory, I know how it works, but it just never seems to work out for me, even if you gave me recipes. See, as a scientist, I mentioned this before, I was a bit of a mare in the lab. clumsy on my own thing, and I would follow instructions, but things just never seemed to work out as perhaps they ought to. No matter what, I knew the theory, I knew how things were supposed to work, I knew how you were supposed to do things, I knew what I had to do, and I still managed to get things a little bit wrong, or get things wrong. Not destructively, not dangerously, but I was a mare. And the same when I was teaching. I mean, my pupils thought it was hilarious when something went wrong, or I didn't do something right, or got things... Yeah. You know, it shows not the best. You've got to follow your instructions carefully and, you know, work safely. I always work safely. But my clumsiness meant that I would do daft things like forget which test tube I'd just heated up and pick it up again. I put it down to talking and trying to explain what I was doing at the same time and not paying full attention as a teacher, but it's always happened, and I think it's because I spent a lot of time gathering wool. I'm not sure if that's an expression. People away from Britain would understand. Gathering wool is a bit like daydreaming, or, you know, it's another expression for daydreaming. Gathering wool. I don't know where that expression comes from. Something else I need to have a look at. This is one of the things that I really, really do find interesting and have done for a long, long time. And I dip in and out of it. I love the origins of words and phrases, where they've come from. The origin of words is called etymology. And I actually have at least one dictionary of the origins of words here. And etymology online is a saved space on my browser bar, so that when I think about things, I can go and look them up. Not so much phrases and so on, but I do know how to Google well. So I know I can always go and Google. And so, yeah, gathering wool. I've got a lot to look up today, haven't I? I've got prehistory and some stuff. Technology the Romans brought us, and I do have a book about what the Romans gave us, and all in Britain, related to Britain anyway. So, yeah, I have books, and I'm not afraid to use them. I never have been. And I think my need, I know where my need to surround myself with books has come from. It's because as a child there was never any books around in the house, and I was often denied being able to go to the library, or to, either to get books or to take them back. So I'd end up having fines, because as a young child, in my house certainly, you had to almost have permission to do these things, because that's the way my mother was. And my father would take me to the library because he loved books as much as I did. He'd take us all to the library, but then he'd get into trouble with my mother, and things would happen. But some of my favourite times have been spent in libraries. My older sister actually worked as a librarian for a while in the local library as well, and there were times when I would be able to go into work with her and help out there, and the chief librarian was happy for that to happen. And that was really interesting, learning about card indexes and helping organise books and putting books back on the shelves, and the day-to-day work of libraries. Never interested me to become a librarian, though it could have been an interesting job for me, I do have to say. Now more than ever, because it's the age of information and inquiry. But at that young age, I think I was still in primary school. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. And then when I got to secondary school, I fell in love with music, and that's what I wanted to be, was a musician. Because I also fell in love with science, but I didn't think I was any good at science. Despite all the, successes in tests and exams and so on. It wasn't until I did O-levels that I realised that science was something I could do and I wanted to do, and that perhaps music wasn't quite right for me. I was, adequate, but I just didn't have the confidence to perform well. I'd go to pieces easily, and it wasn't something that I was overcoming in any kind of way, shape or form. And I think I recognised that, even though my music teacher was really, really upset and annoyed with me for not following music to A level and beyond. He didn't speak to me for ages. So I guess that perhaps I was a bit more talented than I thought I was. But I don't think that mattered too much, really, because it just was that perception, and science did win out. But that doesn't mean I've lost my love for music, because I still do. And it's something that I got out the habit of when I had a breakdown. I used to play flute, and I'd started to learn how to play folk harp prior to my big breakdown. And because I was in such a state and I couldn't focus or do anything much for a long period of time, I got out of the habit of doing these things. I sort of lost myself in art, because art was something I could do even if I couldn't bring a thought into my head, which was the case. I couldn't hold on to thoughts or trains of thoughts or anything for quite a long while. I couldn't read either, so I got out of the habit of reading. So I still accumulate books in the hope that one day that ability will be sufficiently exercised that I can just sit down and really thoroughly enjoy losing myself in a book again. So I got out of the habit, and whenever I remember, I think, oh, I know what I'll do. I haven't done this for ages. I go and practice my flute. I haven't had my harp out for ages though. And I thoroughly enjoy it and think to myself, I need to do this daily. And the next day I just completely, not so much forget about it, but it just doesn't enter, well, it is forgetting about it, but it's just getting engrossed in other things that means that I just don't get it done or do it. And part of me thinks I need to set an alarm on my phone to remind me. So, sort of midday, it's time for flute practice, regardless of what else I'm doing. Just it doesn't have to be long, an hour, half hour, and just play for fun. It's going to take me a long while before I become happy with the sound I make, because it's been so long that I've most probably lost my embouchure. But it's just practice will help to bring that back. And then perhaps once I've got into the habit of that, I can add in the folk harp. And I recently bought a tongue drum or hand pan, because they sound so lovely. And I haven't, because it's now downstairs, I was living upstairs with me for a while, but it takes up a lot of space. It's not huge, but it's enough. That I haven't really taken that out and spent some time with it. So what was I doing while I was drawing yesterday? I was catching up on television series. So I watched the rest of the Lincoln Rhyme season, and that was fun, sort of. I do like a bit of a murder mystery, psychological profile-y type thing. And then my niece has been nagging me for a number of years. Auntie Angela, you love Dexter, you've got to watch Dexter. And I tried once and I really didn't get into it. I just couldn't. I don't know why. I couldn't have watched much of it. But it popped up as a suggestion, something, watch something similar to the Lincoln Rhyme. So I went and thought, okay, we'll have a look. Methinks I just didn't stick with it long enough. I think I might have spent just a few minutes, got confused by it and thought, oh, this isn't for me. But I started binge watching it yesterday, which was fab, and I really enjoyed it. And I haven't lost the touch of working out who's who, or who the real baddie is before anybody else picks it up. So I'm really pleased about that. A friend of mine and I, when I was teaching, we both enjoyed the same kind of, I suppose, murder mystery detective novels, with lots of twists and turns. And so we'd swap books, or we'd read the same book at the same time, roughly. Or not quite, no, we'd swap books. And she tried to go out of her way to go, right, I'm going to find you a book that you won't be able to guess what the ending is. Because I won't go and look at the end. I won't do that because I'm not that kind of person. I enjoy the story along the way. But within the first few pages, I've often worked out who the baddie is, who the serial killer is, or, what's going on. And she never did. I used to drive her mad. She said, "You've got to be cheating." I said, "No, I don't. I've got no idea of what happens." And even though I might have had an idea of who had committed the crime, because you get, in these books, you get all the major players sort of like introduced in different guises. And in the first chapter, it seems to be, with no indication of which one is the killer or murderer or what. The same thing, isn't it? Killer, murderer, whatever, the bad guy, woman, as the case may be. I'd still manage to work it out, wouldn't I? I used to drive her nuts. But just because I knew who the bad guy was, I'd just go, yeah, it's so-and-so. How do you know that? Well, I don't know, I just do, there's just something there. But I'd still read the book and thoroughly enjoy reading it because I wanted to know the process of how they worked it out, what clues they'd picked up on, all the other evidence, and particularly the reason why somebody does such things. Those psychological kind of thrillers, I suppose, or stories. Because it reflects in me. I'm interested in why people do what they do, what makes somebody do things, in terms of their personality or the way their mind works, their life story. I am interested in such things, genuinely. So I found the same thing happening with Dexter last night. Is that no, they've got that wrong. That's not the person. That one is there. And turns out I was right again. But no, there's no way I'd ever be a cop. Can't cope with violence and aggression in people, confrontation. I'm too sensitive a person for such things. Go, one fish nearly done. And I'm going to finish this little bit of a fish off. And then I am going to end the video here quite quickly today. I know there's not a lot been done, but it has been story time. What colour? And get this processing and so on, and uploading, what have you. And I can get my fan back on so I can stay a bit cooler here while that's happening. And get another mug of tea. As I can tell, it's going to be lots of mugs of tea day again. I didn't drink enough yesterday. Got quite lazy about that. So I had a bit of a headache when I woke up this morning because of that. So one cute little fish. One of many to be done. That is really quite bright, isn't it? It's lovely. So I'm going to say thank you for joining me this morning for a relatively short video. It's only just over half an hour long. And enjoy your day wherever you are. I hope that the weather is okay. I know there's been terrible floods in Germany, and Europe, so all my friends over there, my heart goes out to you. And I think I've found out that everybody's safe. They've been postings on Facebook to let us know they're safe. So that's fab. But whatever you do, enjoy your day or evening or night. And whenever you catch up with this, and if you can, spend time every day being creative, even if it involves colouring just one fish. Yeah, just one fish. So important. Whatever you do that's creative, enjoy it and take time for it and give yourself a break from everything in everyday life. So until we meet again, please take care and speak to you soon. Bye-bye.